Hey, what's going on? What's happening? This your girl Tiffany, and I'm back. So Ramadan Mubarak to all you beautiful people out there. For those of you who are celebrating Ramadan, all right, and also, um, I hope you guys having a great day, and I hope you guys are doing well. So I want to talk about a Sufi order, right, called Hammallayya. So before I get into Hammallayya, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share the channel. So there's a lot of Sufi orders, all right, that I've realized that is mostly practiced in West Africa and parts of North Africa and the Middle East and Asia. There's so many Sufi orders out there. So the Hammallayya came about the school of the Tijaniya Sufi order. All right. So it came out of that school. However, the Hammallayya had separated themselves from the Tijaniya order. So this particular Sufi organization is not the typical type. Okay, these people were very resistant. They engaged into a lot of protesting. They was going against the hierarchy. They was going against the French colonialism. Like, these people were very different. They had a radical mindset. So to the point that the person that was the leader, okay, he ended up getting exiled. He ended up getting exiled and sent to other places. And this particular Sufi order became illegal. All right, they were banned from practicing. So to this day, they're not very popular. However, they're practiced amongst people that's in the lower class community, or those that are in that are impoverished or living in poverty. They practice this. Okay, so this one is just pretty interesting to me, and it stuck out to me the most. I tried to find what I could for this topic. I came across a book that speaks on this subject. Well, not just the subject alone, but just speaks on West African Sufism. Okay, so I want you guys to like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share this channel. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. All right. So let's get started as far as like who's the leader, who's the founder. So first of all, I want to go ahead and show you the picture. So this is the picture of the gentleman that is supposed to be the leader of the Hammallayya movement. Okay. Now the history is very interesting, as I mentioned before. So now let's go into this. As a matter of fact, let's go down to where it says African scholar. So right here, you go on African scholars and saints.blogspot.com, right? And right here it says African scholars and saints, their lives and time. So Sheikh Ahmad Amalhullah, all right, Sheikh Amalhullah, the great, what's it? The great Kutub, the spiritual pole. Okay, so it goes in to talk about the code from the spirit of tolerance, the inspiring life of Tarnino Bakar by Amadou Apate. Okay, I don't know what the BA stand for, to be honest with y'all. So the origin of the practice of 11 Bs and 12 Bs. To understand the roots of Hammallayism, we must first take a step into the past to the life of the founder of this order and sort out once and for all this question of the 11 Bs and the 12 Bs, because this issue is at the origin of the events that we shall relate in this book. Okay, so it says, as we have already had the opportunity to point out, the prayer of the pearl of profession was received by Sidi Akman al-Tajini in a vision he had of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with the injunction to recite it 11 times, which is still the practice in the Mother Zawiya in Algeria. At certain period in his life, Sheikh Ahmad al-Tajini had a dispute with the local authorities in Algeria who made his life impossible there. He had to leave Algeria and take refuge in Morocco. Above all, he wished to avoid any bloodshed amongst his disciples that might be caused by such clashes. Protected by the Sultan of Morocco, he was able to settle in Fez with all of his followers. So it says every morning in the Fez Zawiya, after the dawn prayer, the brothers gathered with the sheikh to recite the wazifa, and in symbol of prayers that ended with 11 recitation of the pearl of profession. Then it goes on to say it was the sheikh habit to give his benediction to everyone once the 11 recitation had been completed. One day he was delayed and the students started the wazifa without him. They had already finished the 11th recitation of the pearl of profession when the sheikh was at the last able to join them spontaneously, and so that the sheikh could give them his benediction was as was the custom. They repeated the prayer a 12th time, after which the sheikh blessed them. Okay, so because the sheikh had not made any observation, either positive or negative, as regard this innovation, the students of Fez preserved it, and it is thus the custom came about. It does not figure in any written teachings coming from the sheikh himself, but it had been transmitted across Africa, in particular within the Umayyan branch of the order. All right, so when informed of this new practice, the mother Zawiya was it Timashin? Timasin did not oppose it, although for their part they remained faithful to the recitation of the 11. The elderly initiated numerologists of the Tariqa explained if the sheikh said nothing is because from the esoteric point of view, the number 11 equals the number 12. Interesting. Moreover, 12 being the number of sacrifice of temporal action, even of war, it was appropriate to the state of exile in which the sheikh found himself at the time. As for the number 11 is number of pure spirituality, the number of esotericism of mystical communion with God. It symbolized the unity of the created being that is joined to the unity of the creator. It's also, among many other things, the numerological value of the divine name Huwa. He, the name of the pure transcendence, which Sufis recited at the end of their mystical gathering. This state of affairs continued for nearly a century without resulting in any problem. All right. So it goes on to talk about the prediction of the event, the search and the manifestation of the pole. Sheikh Amalhula. All right. So now, before I continue on reading, let me talk real quick about the whole thing of these sheikhs being put into exile. All right, so a lot of them were put into exile because of the fact that they were not only practicing their religion, but because many of them refused to conform to the governmental practice, right? Submit to the foreign government and those who was in that was in authority that was not from their country. All right. So, people like the founder of the Morida, which was Sheikh Ahmad Baba, right? He was exiled, and the leader of the Hammallayya was exiled because of the fact that they were not going to confirm into a society that was ran by foreigners that came from another continent and another country. So all this time period in places like Senegal, Algeria, Morocco, whatnot, mostly French was occupying the areas. Okay, they was in control. They was under colonialism. So these people said, "Nah, we're going to keep our faith in God. We're going to keep our faith in Allah, but we will not submit over to these authorities. We will not give this up." And that would tend to happen. So because they refuse to sacrifice themselves and they refuse to give up what they were doing as far as their tradition wise, as far as their customs, it led to exile. It led to for them to be kicked out of their own countries and sent off to other places. All right. So now let's just go ahead and let's continue with the article. Um, so in 1893, the mother of Zawiyas of the Tajania in Algeria heard the news of the capture of Bendagora by the French. It seemed that the end of the Tukulur Empire of Mazina was not. The fatality of the Tajania in Black Africa seemed to be cut short. It was soon learned that Ahmadu Sekou, leader of the faithful, who had succeeded his father Al-Hajj Umar in his spiritual function, had left the country, had been chased out by the French advance, and that there was no trace of him. Therefore, the Tajania no longer had a Khalifa. All right. So, let me go down. Let me go further down. All right, so now I'm gonna skip down a little bit. Okay, it says Sheikh Mohammed Al Aqdir set off to accomplish his double mission without knowing that his wandering would last for years and that he would end up being taken to Naro, where after despairing at not finding the one for whom he was searching, he would finally find him. He began by going to Egypt. From there, he reached the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, then Black Africa, visiting all the regions where the Tajania had zawiyas. But he did not detect the predicted signs of the Kut anywhere. He crossed Chad, Nigeria, Niger, and finally arrived in French Sudan. He passed through Bandigaria, then following the Niger, continued to Moti and Segou before arriving in Bamako. All right. So now, once we go further down, where it says Sharif Hamala, the man whose feet rested very high above this earth. So this is the point at which Sharif Hamala appears in our story. Sharif al-Mutar, like many dignitaries of Islamic brotherhoods, directed at Quranic school attended by young boys from the area and by several children of the Sharifian families. One of the latter was the young Muhammad Hammallayya bin Muhammad bin Sadina Umar. His father had been a merchant near Niamey on the Niger River. His mother was a Fulani woman of the Wassalu country. When his parents came to settle in Noro, they had entrusted the education and religious upbringing of the child to the Sharif al-Mutar. So Sharif al-Mutar had predicted a great spiritual future for the young boy. One day, watching him carefully, he had said in front of other students, the day will come when the son of this one will be at its zenith, when whoever is not under his shade will be burnt by his son. All right, so it then goes on to say that at the time of the first outburst between the 11 Bs and the 12 Bs, the young Sharif Amala was 18 or 19 years old. One evening, he was going along a road which went past the compound of Sheikh Mohammed Al Aqdir, who happened to be resting in the shade of his wall. It was the first time that Sheikh had been had seen the young man. Something about him struck him. He questioned Siddiqui Abdullah, who was near him. Who is the father of this black boy? He's not a black, responded Siddiqui Abdullah. He's a Sharif, a descendant of the Prophet. He's Sharif Amala, the son of Sadina Umar. For Africans, in fact, it is not color but birth which matters. As long as man is a Sharif, even if he is dark as ebony, he will be called a Sharif, therefore of Arab descent and not black. Sheikh Muhammad Al Akhdar kept silent for a moment and then said his foot is placed very high in relation to the earth. All those present tried to outdo him. He is not surprising. He has always caused wonder in people. He has even performed miracles without seeking to do so and without taking pride in them. All right. So to say all this, to say all that, basically, he was pretty much called into leadership. So, and the person I'm talking about is Sharif Amala. So Sharif Amala was called into leadership to basically take over the Sufi order. All right, and this Sufi order that was a part of the Tajani order. Okay. All right, so again, you guys can look up this information for yourself if you want to read into it. Go on African Scholar and Saints.blogspot.com. Okay. All right. All right, so here's the information from Wikipedia. So let's see what Wikipedia is talking about. All right, so it says Hammallayya or Hammallayism is a Sufi tariqa originating in West Africa as an outgrowth from and a reaction against the Tijaniya Brotherhood. It was founded at the beginning of the 21st century by a mystic, Muhammad bin Ahmadu, of Moray and Fulani background, as reform movement of Tijaniya practice, stressing opposition to hierarchy and downplaying the importance of education. The movement spread in the 1920s by Ahmadu's disciple, Sheikh Ahmadullah bin Muhammad bin Umar, in what was then French Sudan, modern Mali. It first took root amongst Wolof traders living in Noro, but soon spread to the Serbo caste Muslims in Mauritania and Mali. And so it says the Hammallayya's doctrine changes from the Tijani ritual, including the removal of some of the recited references to the Prophet, rejecting the Quranic study, and the shouting of prayers in group worship. Hammallayya's tended to stress traditional West African ritual and the rejection of the traditional hierarchies, including gender, age, and caste distinction. Okay? So the opposition and growth. So opposed to what is saw as the hierarchy of the then dominant Tijani order, Hammallayism grew into a social protest movement, especially from poor and slave community, and opposed both the wealthy among African and the colonial government of French West Africa. From the 1920s to 1940, periodic flare-ups of Himalayas attribute protests and violence occurred in what is today Mali, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast rather, and Niger, and were suppressed by both the French authorities and local Tijaniya leaders. Among the prominent converts to the Himalayism were Torino Bokar Salif Tall, great grandnephew of the pre-colonial military and political leader of the Tijaniya Jihad state, Alhaj Umar Tall in Mali, and Yakuba Sila in Mauritania. Other notable adherents include Torino Bokar, the teacher and spiritual leader of the Amadou Hampate Ba, if that's how you say it. In Burkina Faso, Hammallayism was especially present in the Fulupe communities into the 1950s. Okay, so it says the suppression and survival. So Hammallayya bin Muhammad bin Umar was exiled by the French authorities from Noro to Mauritania in 1933, following clashes between his followers and local leaders. Then to Ivory Coast and finally France. But the movement survived his death in exile. The movement was eventually made legal in French West Africa, but continued especially among the rural poor. It remained a political and religious force in parts of the eastern Mali and western Niger, where it took roots in traditional Tuareg servo caste communities called Bela. Followers still numbered 50,000 in Mali by the 1970s. All right. So, breaking all that down, basically, this movement came about because, again, they were rebelling against the French colonialism. All right. And they were against the hierarchy, and they wanted to keep the African tradition going. Okay. They wanted to keep African tradition going. So they did not reject the concept of God at all, but they weren't very traditional like the Tajani people were. They weren't into all the loud praising and reading, reciting the Quran and all of that. They weren't into all of that. Okay, so and they want to be able to maintain. Um, they wanted to be at ground level. They wanted to be equal. So that's why they was pretty much focused on the poor people, right? And they were amongst the poor because they had, again, they had a resistant against the government and also against those wealthy people as well. So they didn't want to confine to the concept of submit to a higher authority or dealing with the concept of classism or caste in this case. So they want to be able to maintain their tradition and not have somebody try to interfere and tell them how to operate or what can they practice, what they cannot practice. Because you got to understand, when it comes to colonialism, right? Colonialism is about control. It's not only about economic control, but social control and political control and cultural control. All right. So when you control everything when you control the economics, in order to really control the economics, you have to control everything else. You have to gain some type of political power or have some type of political opinion or say so, right? You have to have some type of social influence and you have to have the cultural influence, okay? That's what you have to have. So to keep things under control economically. And that's what the whole agenda was with the French people. They wanted the economic power, but they knew that they cannot get economic power without bringing other form of control. Okay? And bringing some type of system in place. So again, these Sufi orders, right? They were rebelling against colonialism. But this one happened to be more rebellious than all the others. Okay, because they weren't going to submit to authority. They were going to keep things traditional, and they were going to be amongst those who have been socially oppressed by the rest of the people, or by the rest of society rather. All right. So what I want to do, I want to show you guys some books, or a book that you can read on rather. All right. Let's see. Let me post this book up for y'all. So this book right here, and I happened to come across the Google search engine for it. It's by Louis Brenner. It's called West African Sufi: The Religious Heritage and the Spiritual Search of Colonel Bakar Salif Tal. Okay. So again, you guys can check this book out. It goes into Sereno Bakar Salal Tal, but it also talks about the various Sufi orders as well. And one of the Sufi orders that is mentioned in this book is the Hammallayya. Okay. So you guys can check that out for yourself and you can read up on it. Okay. But anyways, nah, I didn't. Hold on, let me see something. Now I'm just now looking at you guys' comments. I didn't even know you was on here. So let's see. Shout out to Brother Norman. I see you, Brother Norman. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, Umar Jalal. Hold on. Let me see something. You said it's Torino. Let me see. You say it's Torino or Sereno? Okay. All right. Okay, you said Torino. All right, Torino Bakar. Yeah, Torino. All right, so excuse the mispronunciation. All right. It's according to this individual, it says Torino. So that's what the brother put into the comment section. So he says Torino Bakar. All right. So you said Torino. Oh, so the H is silent. Okay. It's Torino. Oh, okay. The H is silent. All right. So my bad. All right. So he said it's pronounced as, let me see your comment. He says it's pronounced as Tai Tai Taino. Oh, Taino. All right. The H is silent. Okay. So it's Tierno. It's Tierno. Okay. Tierno Bakar. Cool. All right, cool. So according to the brother in the comment section, he said it's Tierno Bakar. All right. So excuse me for that mispronunciation. Um, but anyways, yeah, that was all the information I was able to find on this particular Sufi order. To be honest with you, I had a hard time trying to gather up more information. Um, And the only thing I could find as far as book wise is, like I said, if you guys are interested in reading it, I can show you the book again. Ooh. Hold on, let me get this comment out of here. Yeah, so this is the only book I was able to find. So if there's any other books that you guys may know about regarding to this particular Sufi order, you can put it into the comment section, or yeah, you can put it into the comment section. Or those of you that got my social media page, you can reach out to me in social media and you can send it to me. Or I can just send you guys my email, and yeah, I can send you guys my email, and if you guys got any books that you can send, like I said, related to this Sufi order, I'll look into that as well. So I'll put my email address on here for you guys to send me some information. Because like I said, I didn't get too much luck trying to find out about this particular subject. So I didn't have no luck on this one. To be honest with you, I only had little to no luck. The only luck I was able to have was the article that I presented to y'all, and and that Wikipedia source and the book. So that was the only luck I had. So sometimes, with certain information, it's kind of hard to like find and come across, because more than likely you would have to go travel to that location where, things are taking place or those events are happening, etc. So something like the Hammallayya Sufi order, you would have to go and travel somewhere within the West African region, particularly Mali. You have to travel to Mali. Maybe the locals over there can tell the better story than I can. You know what I mean? So that's how it usually be sometimes. So that's how it usually be. But anyways, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and log off of here. I hope you all have a good one. I hope you all be safe, and I hope you guys enjoy your Ramadan. Until next time, peace and power elevation. This your girl Tiffany. I'm out. Thank you.